what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another movie review. Gosh, it's been so long since I've done one of these by myself. Today we are reviewing the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. The brand new, I'd say, animated Ninja Turtle movie. And I'm gonna be quite frankly honest with you, I actually didn't care much about this movie at the start when they first released the trailer and all that. Wasn't really my cup of tea. Then eventually, I saw it with a couple friends, and then soon after, I got the Funko Pops for them because I thought, you know what, it's actually not a bad movie. So today, we're here to talk about my thoughts for it. Obviously, there's going to be spoilers. Same format as always, there are no spoilers in the start here, and then we're going to talk about spoilers, and then Funko Pop time. I think it's a pretty comedic-heavy movie, which is good because it is a family-friendly oriented film. Kids are gonna watch this, parents are gonna watch this. This is the type of movie that is perfect for them, unlike many other movies. It was pretty cool to see them return to more of like a familiar style of a Ninja Turtles movie. Animation, where we know them the best. Not so much in live action. The villains were written in a more comedic way. They had their scary moments, but most of the time they were really just laughing bags. I also love that they've basically rewritten a little bit of the lore. They've taken some of the material from the comics and the shows, kind of changed it up, and they've also reinvented the Turtles' characterizations. Like for the Ninja Turtles, they kept their base personalities, but they've alternated some things just to make them a little bit different than what we usually know them as. This film was basically an all-star, hot cash, loaded movie. Lots of very famous actors were in this, including a cameo from a pretty big YouTuber. But we got like Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen, John Cena. And those are the only three I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot more big names out there. Despite it being a loaded movie, all voiced by pretty big names, I think this film delivers what it was intended to do, is to deliver an entertaining and comedic film. Its ultimate goal is to entertain, not tell a compelling story. Sometimes movies just need to be entertaining to be good, and I think this movie captures that. Surely this is not going to be like Oppenheimer, so I give this movie a passable 7 out of 10. Not my personal favorite. Ninja Turtles have always not been my absolute favorite franchise, but I respect them for it. I enjoy the movie as just a casual fan, not as a nerd. So that is my non-spoilers talk of this movie. Now, obviously, this is your chance to click away and avoid spoilers. The first thing I want to dive into is Splinter. They've completely reworked Splinter. He's actually this old grandpa, hell-bent father of a rat, who's voiced by Jackie Chan. Oh, there he goes, Jackie Chan. But yes, Jackie Chan was a pretty good pick to voice Splinter in this one. He was very funny. He had some good moments. Well, because we're in spoilers, I can kind of mention it that we do have a post-credit scene where they introduce Shredder. Now, Shredder was the main villain for the 2 live-action Ninja Turtle movies. So the origin story of Superfly is that he is a science experiment of Dr. Baxton, and they had a father-son relationship, and then some Russian organization, TRI thing, came into Baxton's lab, killed him, and Superfly was basically left to rot on his own, who then, because he had the mutagen, was able to develop into a Superfly humanoid and become the next villain. Now, the first half of the story kept Superfly in the dark. We only saw Superfly as a tiny little fly at the very beginning of the opening scene. But then, as we progress through the movie, we know that Superfly has been causing chaos in New York. There's been news reports about him, and there was a scene where I believe a bunch of robbers were making a getaway. They were robbing a bank, and then Superfly came in. You don't see him, you just see him carry the truck into their warehouse, and he kills the 2 robbers. That made Superfly quite intimidating at first. I am not gonna lie. I'd be like, oh my goodness, he's actually scary. But then, when he gets introduced to the Turtles, we get to see the full reveal of Superfly, and he's just this nerdy, comedic, laughing stuff. Well, he has his morals, which is he wants to create this mutagen to basically turn everyone into animals, insects, things. All the humans are going to be basically suffering as creatures. That was Superfly's motive. And Superfly had a pretty cool gang. He had a pretty cool group of people. Paul Rudd was voicing the Chameleon, I think. There was obviously Bebop and Rocksteady, the iconic duo. And so he had a good roster of villains to go with him. Eventually, those villains that he's with realizes that what Superfly doing was actually wrong. And so they join the Turtles and Splinter and turn against Superfly. Superfly would then, I guess he gets doused in the entire barrel of mutagen during their confrontation with the Turtles. And then he becomes basically Godzilla. He turns into this huge Superfly creature and he just terrorizes the town. Now, I personally think he could have been written better. Like I said, in the beginning, he was written as a pretty scary villain. And then they erased all that, made him a laughingstock. Okay, that's fun. He turns out he looks like he's cool with the Turtles and all that. But then the Turtles were like, no, we can't do this. And then the Turtles sabotage their motorcade and Superfly's like, nah, alright, I hate you guys now. And then he becomes Godzilla. But I just think it's a little bit corny at some points. You write Superfly scary, you should keep him as an intimidating villain. Yes, he can have his laughing moments, but maintain the scary moments where he actually looks like an actual threat. As for the Turtles, they kept Leo as the leader. Good, that's his base characteristic. He's facing the struggle of listening to Splinter and keeping his brothers in the dark because they don't want the world to basically hate the Turtles. But Raphael, Donnie, and Mikey, they're all adventurous. They want to go out there to the human world. They want to, be explored. They don't want to be trapped in the sewers all the time. They're adventurous teenagers. And I think they've done that pretty nicely. We got to see Leo struggle as a brother or as a leader. He has to pick between the two perks, and he's trying to find that fine line between them while also basically pleasing Splinter, because Splinter was the one who just didn't want his turtles to go out because of a past incident in Times Square. Splinter, I know he has his comedic moments. He was pretty funny. He pulled out cardboard cutouts of Chris Evans and a bunch of other Chris's. That was really funny. But Splinter, in general, just doesn't want his sons, basically, to go out there. He's very hell-bent on the outside where he hates humans because the humans hate him first. I mean, would you say the same if you saw a giant rat walking on the streets? Mr. Beast would. Yeah, Mr. Beast was in this movie. It was a very, very short cameo. It's like 5 seconds long. He said one line. You might have missed it. So Mr. Beast was his bystander during the flashback sequence when Splinter was basically explaining to the Turtles why he shouldn't go out to the outside world. The flashback scene is basically Splinter and the Turtles going up to Times Square to give the outside world a try. Obviously, no surprise, everyone looks at them and be like, oh my god, these are big creatures, they freak out, there's a big rat, everyone's screaming, and then a guy in the corner is wearing a Mr. Beast logo shirt, and he's like, look, it's Batman! It's just a bad Mickey Mouse costume. It's real, I touched it! And that is actually voiced by Mr. Beast, so a very, very quick and short cameo by Jimmy. Respect. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Leo was good. Raphael is that big muscly brother who likes to pick on his fellow brothers. Donnie, yes, they kept him as like the genius, the nerd, but they also made him a lot more childish. I get they're teenagers, but Donnie just has a little more of a childish vibe, a childish energy within him. I feel like that, I wasn't really a big fan of that. In the live-action Ninja Turtles movie, Donnie was also a nerd. He was a computer genius and all that, but he also sounds more grown and mature, to the point where he actually sounds like an annoying nerd who likes to be a teacher's pet in university. I feel like he should have been more mature. Hell, he seems a little bit more immature than Mikey, and Mikey's supposed to be the immature one. One thing that really, really ticked me off was April. Previous versions of Aprils we've seen from the movies and the shows have been pretty good as a reporter. This April is like a high school girl who throws up because she is nervous on camera, and then she wants to be a reporter. So at this stage, she is still in high school, she's much younger, she's not working for a news company yet. Now, I don't really like the whole, because she's nervous, she threw up on camera, that's why people bully her. I feel like they could have done something better. Maybe instead of throwing up on camera, perhaps she couldn't compose herself on camera. Like what I'm doing right now is I'm sitting in front of a camera talking to a camera. Maybe they can write her as she's realized she's sitting in her studio. There's cameramen, there's people in the studio watching her, and there's people watching on the network watching her. then maybe she can start to feel the pressure, like, oh my god, like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And then she breaks down, she's crying, and people can make fun of her for, you know, the girl who just cried on camera. Wouldn't that be better instead of just spitting out vomit everywhere? I know this will piss some people off, but I also didn't really like that Leo has a crush on her. He's a turtle, she's a human. Fine. It's 2023, you can be whoever you want, no matter their identity and whatever. Alright. I believe in the source material, it was actually Donnie who starts a relationship with April. So they kind of swapped that around a little bit. And also, in the live action movies, Mikey has like somewhat of a crush on April. I don't know, it's kind of weird how they've rewritten her character, kind of changed her look as well. I was expecting the much older and more mature April who is already working as a reporter. What I did like is eventually Splinter realizing that he is just like Superfly, keeping everyone hell-bent because we've been through so much together. Then you have to listen to everything I say. You cannot make choices. I make choices for you. Like Splinter has that moment where he realizes the world isn't so bad because, well, thanks to April, the other creatures and the turtles were able to basically gain a reputation, gain respect from the outside world because they were shown publicly on the media that they were taking on Superfly. And that Superfly was the real and only monster. And in the end, the turtles were able to integrate into society. The turtles were able to go into school. Leo was able to ask April to prom. The story was actually pretty well structured. I'm just saying, potentially work around Leo's crush on April. That was weird. But overall, I think what they've done with basically not telling a complicated story, but still have some deep elements. They've basically ticked off each box on the checklist, they just haven't gone into excruciating detail. And I think that's okay, given the length of the movie, which is like around an hour and a half. I was a bit optimistic going into this film, but after watching it, despite the criticisms I've given the movie, I still think it was pretty good. But now, it is time to move on to the Funko Pops. Good thing is, Funko didn't release too many Pops for this movie. 7 commons, 1 4-pack, which they are all glow in the dark, and a 10-inch Leonardo Pop, at least so far. And then they also released Leo in the pizza truck. What I have here is just 6 commons. These were the only characters I wanted. Now you'll notice I don't have April. Let's start off with Superfly, why not? So, Superfly being the one and only villain Funko has made so far, which made sense because he is the main villain. Obviously, he has 6 legs, well, in this case, 1 pair of legs and 4 arms. And he has a big claw on his right arm. And then obviously, Splinter. I'm gonna say this right now, Splinter is probably my favorite character from this movie. Look at the pop. Was I wrong when I said he looks like that old wise grandpa who just doesn't care much about what's going on in the world? He actually looks like he just woke up. And now, for the Turtles. What do we have for the Turtles? Obviously, Leo, Mikey, Donnie, Ralph. We got the whole team, so let's start off with Leo. The pop here is pretty nice. I've liked what they've done with the sword. He only has 1 out. He only technically has 2, but they haven't captured him pretty well. And I think the face. Next, we have Mikey. And I particularly like this pop in general because what they've done with Mikey here is as they have this nunchucks in a swing motion, similar to Thor from What If, where you can get his Mjolnir hammer in a swinging motion. They've kind of done the same here with Mikey's nunchucks here. Then we have Donnie, and he does look pretty derpy. If you look at his face, you can see his glasses are not aligned properly with his eyes. He also has a pair of headphones around his neck. Gonna say he's probably my least favorite pop here, just in terms of his design. Not really a big fan of it, but, you know, I had to get it. And finally, but definitely not the least, we have the big brother here, Raphael. Now you'll notice his mask actually covers his entire head, whereas the other turtles just cover their eyes. His whole head here is covered by his mask, bandana, cloak, whatever. He has his size, which are held properly. That is good. That is exactly how you're supposed to hold size. And honestly, there's not much else going on for Raphael. He doesn't have a lot of details, being the only like muscle of the team and the biggest brother, I guess. So they didn't really do too much. I underestimated it when I first saw it, but after seeing it out of the theater, I'm glad I gave it a chance, and I was able to change my mind on it. With that being said, that is pretty much it for this movie review. If you want to check out any of the previous movie reviews I've done with the guys or by myself, there's a full playlist you can check out on the channel, or click the cards / end screen after this video is done. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys in whatever's coming next. Peace.